always think, what is the
equivalent or
the counter? This is a word, man. When you
opportunity cost.
What's the opportunity cost of those 2 hours?
That's what's the whole one, man.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's the one. That's the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted. That's the opportunity cost.
Because I feel as if I've taken all this time to educate myself on being more emotionally intelligent, more in touch with my emotions, more in tune with reaction perspective, you know, conflict resolution. And then comes this demon who doesn't even, who sometimes you feel as if you have to put more effort in educating than they are willing to put more effort in learning.
One of my biggest emotional triggers, I think we all go through this, is like conflict, right? And I think it's visual. So during conflict, the facial expressions that my counterpart exhibits during, like, you know, conflict can trigger me. So let's say we're talking and they pull like a face like what are you saying? Or let's say they raise their voice, or let's say they speak to you with a little bit more attitude. That for me is probably my biggest trigger in my life. So if I'm with a girl who can't resolve conflict and expresses herself too much with her face and her tone, it makes the experience so difficult for me too.
And why is her being more expressive and more in touch with her emotions like triggering?
Yeah, I can be there, I can be present, I'm having fun, I'm enjoying you, we're taking care of each other, but my heart is not. If you leave me the next day, I will move on fast.
Yeah,
you get me? Because I haven't dealt with that. Because I'm too scared that if I put my heart into something, I'm gonna get triggered.
Your emotional vulnerability triggers a certain fear in you.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of Seated with Lebo and Thato Rampedi, guys. Very, very happy to be back. We've been consistent again, which is lovely news. I'm very happy about that. But of course, guys, today the episode is being controlled by Mr. Rampedi. So, Lebza, what's happening today, baby?
Yeah, guys, of course, in all things, you know, wellness and mental health, we decided to go with the overall theme of triggers. And we wanted to do a couple of subsections of that, so I'll just say it now. So we'll start off the segment of defining our triggers, you know, introduction to triggers, types of triggers, whether they be emotional, psychological, sensory. And then we're going into recognizing emotional triggers in a sense of what are common emotional triggers? That do they trigger your fear, your anxiety, and trauma, and of course how to handle that and managing it, and etc. Then the impact of your environmental triggers. Does your space trigger you? I think that one's a big one for me. Like, I really have a lot to say about that one because I think we all find ourselves in a space where we can be triggered all the time. And then of course it wouldn't be a Seated podcast without healing and recovering from triggers, because guys, as we said, this is a time for you in your week to just be seated with yourself, with your mental health, and take a different approach to your problems and actually try to digest them and figure them out. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, before we start with that, we are obviously in alignment with Cappy.
Yeah, so it's time for affirmations. If you guys don't know, we've partnered up with Cappy in the past 3 episodes, and they're basically empowering us to basically have affirmations, and they're calling them affirmations. So we're going to share our ones, but guys, please don't be scared to share your ones too in the comment section. My affirmation for this episode is definitely to understand that position and mentor those around me that I can. So I'm trying to mentor young content creators. I'm trying to mentor, you know, my teammates. I'm trying to upskill my teammates. So it's to see the importance of my mentorship that I have to provide to the people around me. Yeah.
I think for me, my affirmation is you are the content that you consume. So what that means basically is that I'm trying to consume more cleaner, more educational, and more progressive content, whether that be by reading, listening to podcasts, or even audiobooks itself, you know. And that is just in betterment of oneself.
Be a part of the exclusive Cappy collab by clicking the link in Cappy's Africa bio on the social media to sign up and share your affirmations.
I like to think that right now that we are being, you know, choked with content that rots the brain, that has no educational purpose. And I'm not saying that every content you consume should be educational. Yes, you can consume content for entertainment. But me as a person, I just want to learn stuff. I want to be every day learning new things, you know. So that's something that really, really is just very important for my affirmation. Sorry, yeah. So that's something that I've just been trying, and I think that that's the direction that I'm on right now.
Yeah. That's dope. I want us to go into the, of course, our favorite segment, the how are you? But before that, guys, I'm going to try it a bit differently this time. We've got 3 pillars for the how are you. It's how are you mentally, physically, emotionally. I want us to basically, for this episode, just have words for each of those things. Because I want to dive straight into the topic. So, so for the how are you emotionally, I'd say I'm going to give it, you can either give it a number or a word. Emotionally, I'm at a good 6, 7 out of 10. So I'd say it's good, it's moderate.
Can we just go together? So emotionally.
Yeah, what's your emotionally?
I'd say like 6.
Yeah. I'd say physically I'm at a good 1, 2.
0.
Yeah. And then I'd say mentally I've started regulating my emotions a lot better. So I feel like I'm stronger there. So I'd say I'm at a good 8.5.
I'd say like I'm on a 6.5. Yeah.
That's dope. Let's get straight into the topic.
Yeah, but let's get straight into it, yeah. All right, cool. So before we start, obviously, understanding one's triggers. Let's first start off with the first theme would be defining triggers, of course. Triggers are stimuli or events that activate memories, emotions, or reactions, or initiate a response, often automatic or unconscious, can be internal thoughts or external people and situations. Traumas can be usually associated with triggers can be usually associated with trauma, emotions, habits, phobias, and of course, my favorite one that we'll speak about, addictions, right? But what better way to start this topic than speaking about what our triggers are and defining what our triggers are that we have noticed, you know? Do you even know your triggers?
I know my triggers. So one thing that I've improved on quite a lot, I used to get triggered when someone would offer advice on my craft. So let's say I'm shooting a video or making a reel or I'm doing a podcast. Because I was doing it alone for so long, when someone would say, oh, try this, do this, or why don't you? I used to get triggered because at the time I felt like I know what I'm doing, which is like, you know, a reflex, which is bad because it's like I don't. So it's good to get advice. And I would be triggered to a point where I was never enough. So I was triggered to whenever you make your own decisions, whenever you do your own thing, you know, there was someone like a father or a mother or a teacher that was saying, nah, what you're doing is wrong, like you're doing the wrong thing. Because it took me a very long time for me to trust in myself and trust in my skills, right? So I feel like I finally got to the point where I trusted in myself. Then I would get triggered a lot when people would make me feel like I shouldn't be trusting myself. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was viewing it wrong. So I'm over the trigger. Now if I'm doing anything camera-wise, video-wise, content-wise, and someone offers advice, I look at it as advice, and I most of the time take it on and do what they say, you know?
Yeah. I definitely like that because, as we said in our definition of triggers, one of the things was activate memories. Triggers can activate memories in you. And Thato just spoke now, and he's basically, as we'll call it, like a case study. He speaks on like how he took time to build confidence in him believing in his skill. So people speaking about his skill would cause an insecurity, activating the memory of earlier days when his skills would not be enough or seen as enough.
Yeah, and the one thing that's kind of sucks is that a lot of us, when we're triggered, we don't know that we're activating that memory, right?
Yes.
When you're triggered, all you feel is an emotion. So you trigger an emotion. Sad, so it's up to you to really like try and deep dive why that thing is even a trigger. Because once you understand why it's a trigger, it changes everything. But yeah, what about you?
One of my biggest triggers that I've actually identified this year is spending, I know this sounds really, really weird, but spending too much time in my bedroom. I didn't say flat. Bedroom, right? When I grew up, I spent a lot of my time confined into my bedroom trying to watch like anime or trying to consume basically every movie or every series possible because I built like a safe space in my room, you know, like I knew that no one could just come in here and just disturb me for a long period of time because this is where I slept, you know, but now, you know, me spending time in my room activates the memories of feeling defensive, feeling as if someone's going to come into my room and start reprimanding me or feeling things. So what that does to me is that I feel as if I stay in my room for too long, I am either a failure or I'm what, or I need to get up or I am not good enough or etc. And that triggers this whole, I want to say, cycle in me of depression and anxiety and fear, which we'll get into because sometimes these triggers take out your fears, they take out your anxiety, they take out, for Thato's case, maybe doubt, you know, and managing that and identifying your triggers is very important, you know. Within this subsection, right, there are different types of triggers that we can speak about. The emotional, psychological, sensory. So psychological would be more in a sense of, like, as we said, activating a memory, you know.
But
Emotional.
there's memory there too.
Huh?
There's psychological and there's memory there.
No, it's emotional,
sensory.
psychological, and sensory, right?
Oh, okay.
Sensory, I want to touch on. I think sensory, I spoke to Thato about it outside. I said, I always get triggered by the sense of, like, let's say I date a girl and she uses a perfume from Zara.
Yeah.
And then I go on a date with another girl, like, later on in life, and she uses that same Zara spray. When I sniff, all of a sudden the entire ex-relationship, you know, and the person comes up to mind, you know. And that's definitely a trigger for some. Some people associate it with, you know,
I just thought of one now.
beating. You know, some people associate, like, for example, if they touch leather, they remember getting beaten with a leather belt, or like, they're like, guys, do you know this?
Yeah.
They make that sound because the sound reminds them of.
I get that. I'm trying to think of my sensory triggers. I can't really think of any.
Really?
Yeah, I really can't think of any. I mean, I think obviously a big one for all of us is smell. So a smell can remind me of a memory. So it's a sensory trigger that obviously triggers a memory. But otherwise, I've never felt something that makes me feel like, yo.
It can also be visual, by the way. So like which we'll get into, which is the third segment. The second segment. Oh, sorry, fourth or third.
Yeah.
The does your space trigger you? Can also be visual.
Yeah.
Like I know every time I go to UP, for example, right? I always, because guys, keep in mind, triggers can also be good and bad things. In my opinion, you could trigger good memories. You know, you can trigger a positive habit. For example, if you see a lady walking to a door, you're triggered that your mom says, yo, always open the door for lady. So you open the door. So triggers aren't necessarily always bad. I want to make that very clear. You know,
they can be good too.
They can be good too.
Yeah.
So
now that we understand the different types of triggers, you know,
Yeah.
we've spoken about it. I think we should go into the next segment, which is like your emotional triggers. I think we should speak about that. I want to actually dive into relationships. One of my biggest emotional triggers, I think we all go through this, is like conflict, right? And I think it's visual. So during conflict, the facial expressions that my counterpart exhibits during, like, you know, conflict can trigger me. So let's say we're talking and they pull like a face like what are you saying? Or let's say they raise their voice, or let's say they speak to you with a little bit more attitude. That for me is probably my biggest trigger in my life. So if I'm with a girl who can't resolve conflict and expresses herself too much with her face and her tone, it makes the experience so difficult for me too.
And why is her being more expressive and more in touch with her emotions like triggering for you?
She's not more in touch with her emotions. If she was in touch with her emotions, she'd be able to say, okay, currently I feel like this. And what you said is making me feel like this. I want you to understand that these things I didn't like. So next time, maybe let's work on that. But currently, the thing that we're dealing with is this. If you're going to pull faces at like a child, it's going to trigger me. And I think it derives from obviously like just upbringing, bro. Obviously, everything drives from upbringing. But it's like when you're being shouted at as a kid, you're not allowed to speak. They're shouting at you. They're pulling faces. You're seeing your parents deep within anger, deep within disappointment, or deep within sadness, right? And you don't have the position to react because you're a child. Yeah. So when someone in a relationship behaves in that manner, for me, it's like you are, number one, not listening to me. Two, you're out of control of your emotions. And three, it's like, I don't know where this is going to go. I have a fear that this is going to become even more heated. So that's why it's like, I don't mess with it.
To be the devil's advocate in that case, bro, like, I've met people who genuinely do not have the ability or skill yet. I say yet because you can work on this for emotional communication, you know. So what I mean by that, like, you are so skilled.
That's a red flag.
You are extremely. I think you would probably be in your masters. I'm saying emotional intelligence and emotional communication wise, you're probably in your masters. And then now Jolly grade, like we've spoken about something. Now Jolly is someone in grade 1 with the emotional communication. Yeah. Some people then, because of lacking in emotional communication, resort to physical communication. Huh? Ori?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
If you ever been with a class girl that reacts like that? Yeah, guys. I've been with all types of girls, different tribes. Pedi girls, Tswana girls, Zulu babes, you know what I'm saying? But the ones with the most like sass when it comes to conflict resolution is Atlosa, babe.
But like you'd be surprised. I think it's like it's on a woman. I think it comes out differently in different types of women.
You know what is different? You know why I think it frustrates me? Because I'm not really good at speaking Xhosa, right? So now in that sass, there's also some terms I don't understand.
Yeah, some vernac.
Vernac. And it just feels like, man, like I feel like you're trying to like attack me. It happened to me like recently, like maybe like a month ago, 3 weeks ago, we were wine tasting. I was with this girl that I was talking to lightly. And we had like a little bit of a tiff, man, small tiffs.
Yeah.
I was just saying like, oh, I didn't like this thing. And she was like, she basically said, huh? Like she was like, what do you mean you don't like this thing?
Yeah, bro. It's like, I think people forget, like in conflict with a partner or a relationship, when you bring up a problem, some people perceive it as a punch. So their body reacts, huh? Yeah. What do you say about me? You know what I'm saying? Instead of receive.
Yeah.
So people react instead of receive. You know what I'm saying?
But one thing I've started to do is that, let's say I bring up a problem and I see somebody react in a very dramatic manner. I think to myself, okay, this person is not trying to fight with me or angry. They are probably upset that they've upset me. Do you get what I'm saying? So I understand, okay, this person is upset that they've upset me, or they're upset that they think that I've been upset. I've been, you know.
Which again, masters in emotional intelligence.
So I remove all those dramatic effects that they're adding on, all of those layers, and I say, shame, this person's trying to do this. And then I speak in a very calm manner, and I say, okay, no, listen. First of all, after this conversation, we're going to discuss the way you presented yourself during the conversation. But for now, this is how I feel. And I feel this way because of these actions. And I don't know what these actions from you meant. So can you please explain to me what these actions meant so I can see if I should be upset or not? And then once the conversation is resolved, I can then say, okay, listen up. I didn't like the fact that during our conflict resolution, you did this, and this. Yeah. I understand that you're used to speaking like that, but in future, can we maybe try and, can you please be mindful of that, the fact that triggers me?
Can I derail you and ask you a question? Sorry, I want to ask. Does it not frustrate you that you always have to be the educator of your relationships?
No, because I wasn't always educator.
But how long ago was that?
Earlier this year, I was an educator.
I think for me, it's been a long time.
All of my relationships, I think we take turns in being educator, right?
Yeah.
Because when a girl explains to you how things make her feel, she's educating you also.
Yeah, I perceive that, but I'm talking about, when we educate our partners on how a healthy relationship works, because they've never been able to be in one. And
I don't mind.
I genuinely get a bit frustrated in it, because I feel as if I've taken all this time to educate myself on being more emotionally intelligent, more in touch with my emotions, more in tune with reaction perspective, conflict resolution. And then comes this demon who sometimes you feel as if you have to put more effort in educating than they are willing to put more effort in learning. I don't know if you know the disconnect.
Well, then you should leave that as a red flag.
No, it's a red flag. You're right. You're right.
But then you shouldn't be in that situation.
Maybe you shouldn't be in that space. But
how do you feel like you've triggered people in the past? What actions of yours or bad traits do you think trigger people?
Again, it's based on what you said. It's like perspective thing. We get triggered in different ways.
Lebo's triggered already now by me asking him how he triggered somebody else.
My behavior.
You see that?
My behavior.
You felt attacked, didn't you?
No, I didn't feel attacked, but that's good that you're looking at body movements and stuff.
Yeah, because you were like,
that's a big thing.
You first said, no, that's perspective. So you basically say, I haven't really,
no, it's like a one size fits all. My energy to one person might be received in a certain way compared to another person.
100%, yeah. Some people don't have those triggers, but I'm saying
like you being quiet, for example, in certain situations, right?
Yeah.
One person might
trigger somebody.
I would be like, why is he thinking? Is he thinking bad things about me? Another person might be like, oh, finally some peace. And
I was talking to this one person. Guys, also every time I say I was talking to this one person, it's probably the same person, man. So don't think I'm talking about multiple people. The person is just under witness protection program or the people.
Yeah.
So once upon a time I was talking to this person and they were like, dude, like every time I present a problem to you, you're so cool, calm and collected. And I don't know if you care or not. So I think I was triggering somebody due to my energy. So it's like, oh my gosh, I hurt my foot. I think she had cut her heel. Then I was like, oh, serious? I'm like, is it sore? Let me see. Then I was like, oh, damn, this is a bad cut. You should probably ice it. refrain from stepping on it. So for her, she's there like, she goes tells her friend, I just told him I cut my foot. He told me that I should ice it. And then her friends are like, Chami, he listened to you.
He fixed the problem.
He fixed the problem. He offered to carry you. He offered ice. What do you want?
Yeah.
So I feel like me not being like, yo, you cut your, like it also it triggers somebody because it's like, why aren't I being cared for? That's why it's so important for you to understand your partner. Definitely.
And it might touch on to like the next topic, which is being like, does your space trigger you? And does your, like, because your space could be a relationship, you know what I'm saying? And one thing I really like about what Thato's saying is compatibility.
Yeah.
Comes back to what you're saying, because that's also another key indicator to look for in your partner. What triggers do they bring out of you?
Yeah.
What sort of reactions do they bring out of you?
Yeah.
And what better than the everyday situation where you're just picking up small things like cutting a foot, like that's crazy. Because if some girl cut her foot or something, this is me. Oh my god! Like what the hell? Okay, cool. Let's get like a finish. Okay, cool. Just wait, breathe. Am I breathing? You know what I mean? Like I'll make it a joke. You know, and a woman will see that as like, oh, he's not taking this seriously. But in reality, I'm trying to make you feel less like heavy about the situation. You feel me? So I really like what you're saying, because again, maybe triggers is how we receive things as well.
Yeah.
Very, very, very nice thing. But
I think with the environment one, let's talk about like actual physical space, right? So I think with me, and I think Lebo can speak about it a bit more, but we can both speak about it. With me, it's a sign and a trigger. So when my space is a mess, it's a sign for me that I'm going through something bad. But at the same time, it triggers me to be like, like it triggers like laziness. I don't know how to explain it.
Your triggers can trigger other triggers.
Yeah. So my space will be a mess. One, I see it's a sign something is wrong. Two, it triggers me like, hey, what's fine? Like my space is a mess anyway. And then I've now got the emotion of, hey, things are going bad. And it also triggers that I might as well just stay in this mess. Yeah. So it triggers, that's how my physical space triggers me.
Yeah, what a domino effect, eh?
Yeah, like even like with the studio. So let's say yesterday, I had a lot of work to do, guys. And I came into the studio and it was a mess. It was dusty everywhere. So I was vacuuming. I was changing the vacuum from vacuum to blow. I'm blowing dust. I went to the reception. I booked the cleaner to come. The cleaner couldn't come. Now I'm triggered. I'm like, shit, I've got somebody starting new like the next day, which is today. Yeah. The space needs to be clean so that they can like, you know, uphold the cleanliness. Like, I need to set the tone of the space. You get what I'm saying? So now like, that's now triggering so many emotions. Now my mind is going into left, right. I'm thinking, shit, someone's starting today. Now it's triggering like things that I have to do. Yeah. So like, I think triggers can also trigger tasks that are needed, and when you trigger those tasks, that triggers anxiety because it's like, shit, this is coming. Yeah. So I feel like space can really do a lot, which is why, like I said, like Lebo mentioned earlier, he takes care of his space and he's thinking about getting a cleaner. At my apartment, I have a cleaner. I don't have time to deep dive and deep clean. I think it's so important to always value your time in a day, right? So if you've got 7 hours to work and you're gonna spend 2 hours to clean, or an hour to clean, always think, what is the
equivalent?
The counter. This is a word, man. When you
opportunity cost.
What's the opportunity cost of those 2 hours?
That's what's the whole man.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's the one. That's the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted. That's the opportunity cost. So what's the opportunity cost for me to be cleaning? So for example, yesterday, I couldn't get a cleaner. I cleaned the studio for like an hour and a half, 2 hours because I had a client later.
Yeah, with the vacuum, that sucked.
I lost out on time to vacuum, that sucked banger. I lost out on time to finish off my contract, do my questionnaires for my contract. Yeah. I lost out on time to upload content. And these are all things that will make me far more money.
Also, you lost time. It could even be lost time to take care of you, which could have ended up making you more money because you're in a more positive spirit. Because Hunter said it to me the other day. It's like, you know, I gym as part of my work because it makes me feel better about myself. So I do more. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So certain things, like we said, could trigger also the good, and which triggers the next good, which triggers the next good. Like, for example, if you wake up, you make your bed and then you eat food, shower. You know, some people miss the food. Then they go straight to shower. They go straight to work. Like, for example, what I did today. Very stupid in mindset. Yeah. Because you taking away the energy and effectiveness of your day. Going back to Stoicism, you know what I'm saying? Work smart, not hard. Yeah. Which is words you should live by, guys. Like, those words are very, 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 very important. Yeah.
How was your environment ever triggered you?
I think Oh man, environmental triggers.
Have you ever been to a restaurant that triggers you?
No.
I can't go to certain restaurants.
No, I can't. I love all restaurants. Like there's no.
There was a time Cape Town
triggered
triggered
you.
me. There was a time I couldn't go to Cape Town. I had my friend saying, "Hey boy, I've got these tickets for you, flight sorted, just like, you know, contribute to Airbnb." I said, "Oh, I can't come." Why? Cape Town triggers me.
No.
Have you been triggered by a brand of clothing? Brother, have you ever seen you wear Adidas? No.
Clearly, as you can see, that is now identifying all the triggers. He's saying, and that's what's so beautiful about this conversation. I'm sure you guys as well as listeners now are finally you literally all the analytics of your life are coming up,
bro,
and you're seeing all the triggers. You're like, wow, this triggers me, that triggers me, that triggers me.
You know what used to trigger me for the longest time? Phone calls.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why. Quick story time. So I've been dragged on social media, Twitter, multiple times, right? And I remember the first time I got dragged, I got over 20 calls that day. Hey bro, if you see what's happening. Hey bro, if you see what's happening. So every time someone that I don't speak to regularly calls me, I'm like, fuck, I'm getting triggered. I'm getting dragged on social media. Yeah. Something bad is happening. Maybe it's an article that I don't know about. So for the longest time, every time my phone rang from someone that I don't speak to every day, triggered.
Just imagine, bro. Like, but maybe you can then speak to us about like being the next segment, because I don't think environmental triggers, I was gonna just say like, I know how it feels like being a student, you know, you finally have your peace, you finally have your way of work, your way of life, and then you have to go home for the holidays. Yeah. You know, and then live by other people's rules and other people's, man, like that is the real environmental trigger. Yeah, really. You know, the absence of control of your space due to the fact that you're living as a beneficiary of another person is very beneficiary of another person. Sorry, beneficiary would be the other side. But yeah, for all the rest kids or the apartment kids who have to go back to the KZN, the non-GP students. Yeah. You know, the Nachaunte, I pray for you and I'll do a deep prayer for you tonight. But let's move on to the last part of the podcast, which be how to heal from your triggers. You know, we've learned how to identify them. We've learned there's different types. We've learned how they can be good, they can be bad, they can be low, they could trigger other triggers. But now this is finally the part of the podcast where we finally learn, how do I deal with them? Yeah, and I feel like we've touched on it a lot during the episode. I'd say one strategy that I do quite a bit, or one technique that I do, is that like if I get triggered by something, then I feel sad. I don't try to focus on the sadness. I focus on what is making me feel sad. So what deeper memory is there? What deeper moment is there? What deeper, you know what I'm saying? So I think about it deeper. So for example, I used to be triggered a lot by mayonnaise, right? And I know this sounds like silly. Mayonnaise used to trigger me. The smell of it, the look of it, the feel of it used to make me like it sparked my gag reflex. So what happened is that I would think to myself, "Why, man? Why am I always gagging around mayonnaise?" Yeah. And I think, okay, cool. Back then when I would gag around mayonnaise, it's because there's a memory when I was a young kid and my cousins put mayonnaise just on bread, and that was the sandwich, and that was absolutely horrific. They used to sprinkle aromat. Yeah, everywhere. And I'd see people eat mayonnaise. And guys, mind you, I've had to deal with this mayonnaise issue because of my friend Percy, who is a mayonnaise addict. Right? Yeah, because it's been removed from our lives for so long. And then I thought to myself, why was I disgusted, or was I put off by that? Right? And then I went deeper and deeper and deeper. Then I understood that, okay, actually, I had a bad relationship with my cousins, and there was this, and that. So now I don't get, I don't feel as bad as I used to feel about mayonnaise. Another thing I mentioned earlier in the podcast was the whole relationship thing. When a partner pulls a face, why do I feel the need to become defensive? You know what I'm saying? Why do I stop listening to what they're saying and I start protecting myself? Then I go back and I realize, okay, during conflict, I go defensive, I get triggered, I get upset because I never had the position for a healthy back and forth in communication. I always had to defend myself because everything I would do as a kid was wrong. All my decisions when it came to university, high school, whatever, was wrong. And I wasn't deemed as someone that's intellectual for a very long period of time. So now in these moments where I get triggered by what somebody's saying and someone gives me their perspective during, romantic conflict, I try calm down, I regulate my emotions, and I try listen to what they're saying. One thing I've actually been using as well, which is really, really crazy, is AI. So with AI, let's say I'm having a conversation with somebody, and it's on WhatsApp, and we're going back and forth, a friend, anyone really, and you're trying to understand. I say, hey, my friend and I are speaking about this, and I currently feel these emotions. This is their message to me.
I don't know how to respond.
That's crazy.
They it deep dives and says, okay, your friend might be feeling like this. So when you respond, make sure that you respond to this part of your friend's message, because they might be feeling this emotion. Let them know that you understand them and they are seen in this thing. Did that thing with the relationship once? A problem that was eating at me for like 3 weeks, we were able to solve it within like 20 minutes because AI was able to see things I couldn't see.
Like when a master's in emotional intelligence, they even do research during arguments. They do analysis.
No, the thing is that it's because like when I get triggered during these conflicts, I get really, really sad.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Which
It
is why, like,
it really affects you.
yeah, which is why like a sad thing now, I must deal with it now, is that my heart in many of my talking stages in the past, it's not there. I can be there, I can be present, I'm having fun, I'm enjoying you, we're taking care of each other, but my heart is not. If you leave me the next day, I will move on fast.
Yeah.
You get me? Because I haven't dealt with that. Because I'm too scared that if I put my heart into something, I'm going to get triggered.
Your emotional vulnerability triggers a certain fear in you.
Which is why I'm probably going to be single for a very long time.
And again, this segment is called How to Heal from These Triggers. So,
that's how I heal. I'm saying
that's all in the game.
Yeah, I used AI and understand with a deeper history to what the emotion was. Do you get what I'm saying? Like I really sat with the emotions and sat with the triggers and I tried to understand. And that helps you guys. That helps you have a better, like a higher quality of life in terms of relationship, friendships. Like
definitely.
It also helps you understand somebody, because I've got a friend who always triggers me because he does dumb shit all the time. Yeah. But I understand that that friend is just dumb. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? This is a dumb friend.
Perspective is a big thing. I think for me, like, the most important thing I want to say is that understand that we all have triggers.
It's not dumb, sorry, silly. Continue.
Silly, sorry. Before they identify themselves. I'm dumb.
He's talking about me.
Oh, now he's like, oh, I'm silly. I can be silly. Silly is like a nice way of calling someone dumb. But anyways, I think for me, first thing, understand that everyone has triggers. You are not some anomaly, an outlier that exists. You are perfectly human. Understand that your triggers derive, as I said, from something. Yeah. Take the time. If I would say the perfect exercise to identify your triggers, if you really, really want to take the time and be intentional, is to document bar for bar what happens during your day. And the moment you get upset, immediately ask yourself, what is the last couple of things I've just done? What does my space look like? What are some memories that have just gone through my mind? Did I maybe perhaps read something or consume something? And be intentional about it, because the moment you can identify your weak points, you can actually turn them into strong points. Like you can literally turn your weaknesses into strengths, because you are now able to you'll be able to digest your weaknesses at a faster rate than everyone else. Everyone else will take, as I said, 3 weeks for conflict resolution. You can take minutes now. AI, Papa. And it all relies on how intentional you are with your self-care. And the last thing I want to add is it may not be easy for you to be kind to yourself and identify your weaknesses, and you might over-exaggerate your weaknesses. So always ask yourself, if I were to give advice to my closest friend or closest loved one about the matters that I'm going through, what would I say? Because I always find that to be a nice exercise, because we are so harsh on ourselves. Yeah. I always say to myself, like, if Thato was going through this or she was going through this, what would I say? I'd say, dude, chill. Like, like you're going to be fine. Like, you have me, you have your family. You know what I'm saying? So always try to remove yourself from your own space and have perspective from an outside perspective of your life as well. Yeah. That's all, man. And that was the podcast. I don't know if you want to shout out anyone. Or
yeah, so we used to do these things where we say content creators of the week that we mess with, movies of the week. A movie that I've been watching is Beauty in Black. Banger, Netflix, love it too much.
Series.
It's a series, sorry. It's like an 8-part series. I also want to say, like, just to all young business people that are going through, like, emotional problems, or you're just trying to upscale your business, or you're trying to upscale your emotions. Like, I use WhatsApp and Instagram's AI. It's not even promo. On WhatsApp, there's AI, right? At the top, there's AI.
Meta.
Literally, yeah, Meta. Bro, send that thing a voice note. Don't even type. Send that thing. Like I was with the client yesterday. They were shooting content for their business, so they're trying to target restaurants to create websites for them. So what I said to them, I was like, bro, send a voice note and explain to them what your business is. He literally said, hey, I create websites for restaurants. Then I'm like, okay, cool. Now ask it for 8 hooks for your videos. Please give me 8 hooks that restaurant owners that don't have websites might need. And then it gives you everything. So like, don't even, if you're lazy to type, send it a voice note. That's my gem to you. That's my wisdom to you. use the Meta AI and just send it a voice note, anything you're feeling. And like, just like literally anything you want to get done, just ask it to do it or ask it the steps to do it. It'll save you hours.
For me, what I want to recommend to watch, I watched this ridiculous movie called Pompeii, the other movie. It was set in the ancient Rome times when they Pompeii was where Italy is right now, and they're trying to like conquer Pompeian investments, and the volcano erupts and everyone dies. Wah, wah, wah. Very, very ridiculous movie. If you want to watch that, I found it very hilarious, but the acting was horrendous, but the storyline was beautiful. I liked the storyline, the themes, and that was presented in the story. My closing advice to everyone is, please write down right now, if you haven't done it. Does not matter that the year's over. It's only the 19th of November. I just told you I'm starting November now. Write down everything you want to achieve by your next birthday. And actively try to
if it's your birthday today, the next one.
The next year. But you get what I'm saying? Like, one of the things I wrote for myself is read one book by 26. I'm now reading a book, and I want to purchase another one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So at least one of those things on that list will be done.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's my closing thing.
Yeah.
Thank
Also,
you so
guys,
much
we're
for
launching
listening,
products. We've got plaques. We've got merch coming very, very soon. The merch is going to be limited. We're struggling with supply, so we're only going to launch 50 shirts. So literally first come, first serve. And then if you guys want to put a plaque, our podcast on a plaque, or any podcast from anyone, it'll also be in the link in the description. That's also very, very exciting. We will see you guys next week with a brand new episode of Seated with Lebo and Thato Rampedi. Nanku.
Ray-Bans and catamarans, baby, give me a life, baby, living a life. Ray-Bans and catamarans.